One of the key elements of both Conan and the Cthulhu mythos are the inherent disgust reactions that humanity has in the face of non-human sentient races, which is usually one half of what makes conflict inevitable with any alien species. While the Serpent Men and Deep Ones may see this feeling as mutual, there exists a race of beings who can only be called victims of this instinct. These are the frog folk known as the Thumm'ha, or Voiceless Ones, from the doom that came to Sarnath, later reappearing in Conan Exiles' Isle of Sipta DLC expansion as the Thunn'ha. They were originally natives of the continent of Manar, which traveled in between Earth and the Dreamlands on full moon nights before the rise of human dominance. During this time, the Serpent Men, as they founded their city of Sarnath, would see them as a non-issue, being peaceful neighbors who kept to themselves in a great lake. However, after their human slaves overthrew them and took the city, they would slaughter the grand majority of the frog folk in an attempted genocide. The motivation for this coming from nothing more than an overwhelming urge to destroy, born from the same natural disgust reaction so common to the setting. This would nearly fail, with enough survivors to perform rituals to summon their god Bakrug, the water lizard, to take their revenge, which, through aspect magic manifesting the creature, wiped the men of Sarnath out in a single night. In Conan Exiles, we encounter them as part of the Maelstrom weather event, as like the weather system, they have a natural history of traveling between Earth and the Dreamlands. When one looks at their name and their lack of livable structures anywhere, we can see how the original meaning of their name, which was Voiceless Ones in the context of Thumm, which means mute in some old languages, is changed to Thunn'ha, or free ones, if we use the context of the naming scheme. So Thun can also mean free in some older languages, specifically in Norse or Old Norse dialects. This shows us that Sarnath was a defining time of adaptation for the frog folk, who took an extreme nomadic interdimensional lifestyle after their destruction. They also now have a hostile view towards humanity culturally, but there is no evolutionary component to this. This means that allies can be made by earning the friendship of the frog folk, who may also make good guides into the dreamland if one is looking for an alternative to trusting ghouls or rat things. A token can be earned by defeating one in combat, as they have adapted a defensive rather than offensive but still warrior honor culture by the time of the Hyborian Age, which, again, it should mention is about 2.5 million years plus after the doom that came to Sarnath story. Common Voiceless One skin colors are often spotted or patterned red, brown, or green. Eyes have been noted to be purple, red, orange, or blue. Their anatomy is notably squishy, being more vulnerable to cuts and piercing damage than humans, and their purely amphibious nature makes them far more weak to poisons or infections. Despite this, their warrior lifestyle has put them on par in the modern age with humanity in terms of upper body strength, and obviously above them in terms of lower body strength due to their extended lower limbs. They also possess less bone density in return for more flexibility when compared to a human. Their most common weapons are throwing javelins, spears, and archery, preferring to keep their distance from their enemies as much as possible. Their armor covers as little skin as possible due to the nature of their slimy body. It carries similar dotted patterns to their skin and is usually made from a combination of leather, gold, scales, bones, and chitin. Bones and leather are also used in their fashion of jewelry, taking the form of nose rings and leather bracelets respectively. As their original name suggests, they are mute and communicate through a species-specific sign language. If you would like to learn the language of the frogmen, then may I suggest our video's sponsor, Ronin Craft, an independent 3D printing service specializing in weird creatures like the ones we're going over today. Ronin is known for their excellent customer service and ability to stay in touch with you as you get a product whose quality surpasses any master. Their god, Bakrug, we went over in our second episode of Gods of Conan, Beast Gods of Beast Men, which is linked in the list below. There, we go over their veneration of the full moon as a possible mother goddess figure, with Bakrug being the protector or father, and their previous pacifist beliefs, which have likely evolved into a simple karmatic sense of justice since the time of Sarnath. Since they are natives of the Dreamland, where reality warping is common, and groups frequently become unrecognizable versions of their parent species in both morphology as well as abilities, such as the intelligent spiders of Alang, we can assume that Voiceless Ones simply evolved from normal frogs in the Dreamlands. Lining up with their preference for lake-based living, this would mean that they lay eggs underwater, which hatch into tadpoles. Thunn'ha make great low to mid-level enemies and unique quest elements for any tabletop campaign in the Hyborian Age.